Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the 2026 Mega Heatwave. My air conditioner is currently conditioning my air. And according to the weather app, it is already, just by whatever time it is, 10:44 a.m., almost 90 degrees out. So, what a great sign. It is supposed to be the hottest day of the heatwave. The forecast says 95, but we all know it is going to get hotter than that. As you can see here, the temperature has already been increasing significantly faster than expected. Overnight, it was only as low as 74 degrees, so overnight cooling was not very effective. And I think you know what that means. And there's day 1 currently exporting, so I'm using a different memory card to do today. Alright, so if we look at the weather station, it would seem that 89 is not a weather app exclusive. It is also being recorded right here on site via this weather station, the one that is not getting heated by the deck. The one that is out there getting heated by the deck it is currently saying 96.9, which is much higher, much hotter. I think this will quickly register more than 100 yet again. And then so far throughout the other spots in the house, it did not cool down much at all last night. It's already 83 in here again. I think it only got down to like 81 or 80. I'll have to check temperature graphs. Obviously my bedroom stayed pretty cool. .82.5 in the living room. Also 83 in here. And I haven't mentioned this previously, but the sun also gets in here too. And that, once again, cannot be managed. So, yeah, unfortunately this room's also gonna get extra heat, and there's just nothing that can be done about it. Okay, now that says 97.1. In any case, let's look at temperature graphs. I just want to see how low did it actually get last night, because I don't think it got that low. I already showed via the weather app the overnight low was 74. Let's take a look in here. I think this will be a good starting point. Give that a second to load. Checked at 3:30 a.m. last night, all the sensors, and yeah, it didn't cool down much. So that value right there is the lowest it got overnight, and it says, if I can get this thing to move properly, there we go. I want to get it right over the valley. Why isn't it working out? There it is. Alright, let me do this way. No. Alright. Why isn't this... I'm just gonna have to get lucky and hit the right, Alright, there we go. 80.4, that is the lowest temperature we got in the kitchen the entire night. Now look in the office too. It will take a second to refresh all the temperature data. And I must also point out, by the way, it is only 10:58 a.m. And it's already very warm out. Alright. There's a much flatter valley. There's actually two valleys, one where the window fan was running. Got it down to like 81. Yeah, you can see that there. And then a much wider valley here, it was 80.8, so yeah, the entire house stayed above 80 all night. There was really not a lot of overnight relief. And today will be even hotter. That is getting really close to 90, and it won't be long before it actually hits 90. That didn't take long at all. 90 degrees at 11:13 a.m. What are you looking at outside? My God, it's hot. Here's it. Oh my God. The deck thermometer reading 115 or something. Oh wait, no, that's not 115, that's like 107, 108. It is in the sun though. It's really hot over here. Alright, does not feel much better getting off of the deck. Yeah, it's already quite hot out. And even in full shade underneath this massive tree here, it is still quite hot, and that's actually where the sensor is placed, so... This weather station sensor here is getting the best case scenario, which is still quite bad. And the reason it's cooler over there... What is going on here? Alright, do not like those insects. Let's get inside. This door needs to be replaced or something. It's not cooperating well. Greenery does help contribute to a little bit of natural cooling, so it really is the best case scenario there with that weather station. Whereas the one that is above the deck is the worst case scenario because the deck is re-radiating extra heat. That one currently shows 96. So today, of course, being hotter than yesterday, yes, my air conditioner is running more. It's now running off my EcoFlow for the day, and we have... It's not too bad. Getting almost 300 watts coming in through the solar panel, and my air conditioner is taking 454 watts right now. It's kind of on the high side, but it does have to fight a massive temperature gradient. And yeah, let's look at the weather stations. This one on the deck, 101.4. Okay, there we go. And now, I'm gonna go to the other one. Down here, 91.2. It has been consistently increasing. It's not even noon yet, it's already 91. Temperature is likely going to continue to go up until at least 3 p.m. So it is getting hot quite quickly out there, and Yeah, I do think that we'll break beyond what the forecast is calling for, because it's already 91 outside. And in some rooms here, we've already got 85 degrees. So it is getting warm inside pretty quickly as well, which is not a good thing. Wow, it's already almost 92 out. It's like just about 12 p.m. Man, this is escalating pretty fast. Anyways, I was about to go outside because I was uploading and putting in the details for yesterday's part. Day 1. Today's day 2. And I heard something. It sounded like something fell in my air conditioner on the outside because I heard something rattle around for a second or two. My air conditioner obviously doesn't seem to care at all. It's still going. I want to see if there's evidently something in there other than the copious amounts of moisture that it's been pulling out of the air in my room. It sounded like something whacked the condenser fan. Can't see from here though. I mean, what you can see, maybe, I'm having a hard time seeing it. Let me actually try something here. Okay, if I turn the exposure up, you can kind of see inside there. There's quite a bit of water in there. That's just all the moisture it's been pulling out of my my bedroom because it's so humid along with all this heat. And it's quite hot out here. Yeah. So that's what all that is. But in any case, I can't see from this angle if there's something that fell into the condenser fan and got knocked around. But there very well could have been, because something may have just like flown in there, maybe a bug or something. And my air conditioner gave it the business. It is what it is. It's not causing any issues. It's still running just fine. That kind of happens from time to time, so yeah. And of course my solar panel in full sunlight. Oh, that's not particularly good. I can't have this shading any part of the panel, so I'm gonna shove this out of the way here. But this is otherwise getting full sun, making a ton of power. Okay, this hose is also sitting on the corner there. Let's move that out of the way. Just to get as much solar production as I possibly can, which is quite high. And I need as much as I can get so that I can continue to run my AC off my EcoFlow and not have to worry about if the power grid were to fail, because today is the day that I expect something to go wrong, if anything were to go wrong. There's still a ton of water here. And there were pretty high severe weather chances for New England last night, but I didn't actually notice anything blow through this area, so we're all good on that front. But it is so hot and humid out here already, and it's only noon. This thermometer sitting in the sun out here is maxed out. It only reads up to 120 degrees, and I can see the mercury going beyond where you're supposed to see it going. So this is completely maxed out. That is just how hot it feels outside. So yeah, you definitely don't want to be out in this kind of heat. It is really, really bad. That thermometer is getting cooked. So I'm heading back inside before I end up suffering from the heat. And there it is. It's 92 out now. Just from the 4 minutes I was out there to see if something fell in my air conditioner from the outside, which I didn't see anything, so maybe it got knocked back out. I'm not sure. Just all I know is it's getting hotter out. Alright, I went outside so I could do a few little adjustments to the solar panel out there to make more power. I put something under the corner that was folded down so that it would be angled more towards the sun. That seems to have helped a little bit. along with spraying the entire thing down to try and cool it down a little bit, because it is baking hot out there. In fact, I can't even be out there for more than a few minutes at a time, otherwise I feel like I might, you know, suffer from a heat-related illness. I'm just hoping that I can make enough power to meet the demand of my air conditioner, which is quite high today. I am worried about breaking even, or possibly even losing more power than I'm making, so I have to try and get as much as I can off of the sun. And as of 12:20 p.m. today, yesterday's video is now up, so part 1 of the Heatwave is now live on YouTube. Compressor has finally shut off for my air conditioner. It's been running for quite a while, and now my EcoFlow can replenish some of this power, and it says it has 2.2 hours until full, but we all know it is not going to take more than like maybe 30 minutes for my air conditioner to call for cooling again. But since it's getting 300 plus watts in from the sun right now, hopefully a decent amount of power will... You see, it already went back up to 53%. I'm hoping a decent amount of power will come in and replenish some of the energy stored in my EcoFlow here, and then my air conditioner will have another 40 plus minute run cycle, and well, hopefully I will be in the green and have a net positive for solar power production today. It's so hot. 84 degrees, only at 12:33 p.m. in the kitchen. And we've got this weather station here, which is currently saying 104.9. This is the one on the deck, sitting above the deck. And I did catch it, say, 105 earlier. Looks like it's receding just a little bit. And yeah, that one over there almost says 93. It's really, really close. I wonder if I can catch it happen right here. Currently, it is reading 92.8. The temperature, according to the weather service, just went down 0.2 degrees. It's gonna fluctuate as the breeze and stuff happen and the heat circulates around outside, but according to the weather service, peak temperatures are expected to happen at 4 p.m. today, and it's still 3.5 hours away from right now, so I'm gonna close this door instead to prevent heat from getting in, you know, while I'm outside here. I'm finding that, oh my, it wasn't that long that I sprayed this down, you know, not that long ago, so yeah, and the power input settling a little below 300 watts again, so I'm gonna go ahead and spray down the panel again. I may have to do this several times throughout the course of the afternoon today and tomorrow, because the panel's gonna get hot if I don't continually cool it down with some water. The sun is, of course, heating up quite a lot, so I have to spray the panel down. The water will cool it down. Like, the panel is way hotter than the air is, and of course, even with the high relative humidity, that means the sun hitting the panel, the water is going to be absorbing that energy instead of the panel, so it will cool the panel down a little bit. And even when I'm actively spraying it here, as you can see, well, I want you to notice just how quickly the water evaporates, as you can see there. Let me go ahead and zoom in on that. That is evaporating pretty quick. But yeah, after a little while, the water coming out of the hose cools down, because the hose itself is getting cooked by the sun too. So I spray the panel down with a bunch of water, and that will absorb some of that thermal energy and actually help it perform better. Yes, it is safe to spray panels with water. In fact, you're actually supposed to do that if it's hot, because cooling it down actually helps its performance. Alright, let's go ahead and turn this back off. And discharge the rest of the water in the hose, and look at that, it's evaporating really quick, even with cold water. Alright, let's get the rest of the water out of here onto the panel to try and cool it down more. Alright, and let's zoom in over here, because this is a particularly good example of just how quick all of this water is evaporating due to how strong the sun is and how hot it is out here. So hopefully that has improved the performance of my panel a little bit. Maybe getting these blades of grass out of the way will help too. Alright, let's head back inside and see if the performance has improved by spraying it down again. It's the second time today I've had to do that now. This is still maxed out. Getting absolutely cooked by the sun. I'd be surprised it doesn't explode. Yeah, let's go ahead and check the input now. Hopefully it's improved. Oh yeah, it was showing like 290 or 280 earlier. Now we're getting close to 300 and, yeah, we're getting around 320 watts now. So that did help. And every time I see it have a decent drop going down to like 280 watts again, I'm gonna have to go outside and spray the panel down again. I have to periodically cool it down today in order to keep peak performance going. Just because it's so hot outside, the panel's getting really hot. So if I want to keep making as much power as I possibly can, I have to periodically spray down the panel to keep it cool, so that the optimal performance can be maintained. Because as the panel heats up, all of that heat is going to reduce its power output, so I'm going to be making a little bit less power. So I have to, you know, periodically spray it down to prevent that from happening and keep peak performance going. Keeping it cool will indeed help. So, yeah. Hopefully that will allow me to have enough power to keep my air conditioner going off of my EcoFlow for the day, so I can reduce strain on the power grid, and if the grid does end up failing, which there is a chance it could fail today, I will still be able to keep my room cool. I've pulled up weather.com. 97 degrees right now. It says the high of 97, but I know it's going to continue to go up throughout the afternoon. This is just what's being observed right now. Feels like 104 out, probably because of high humidity levels and direct sunlight, combining together to make it feel brutal. Yeah, high of 97, low of 77. So barely any overnight relief, and the same is going to be the case for Friday as well. Let's see. Yeah, that's the temperature graph. Feels like 104. There's humidity. It says 38%. This is just relative humidity. Dew point's probably still 70 plus degrees. Oh, wait, it's right there. It says the dew point is 67, but I think it's actually higher than that. I think the dew point measurement is a little bit low here. The sun is, of course, directly overhead right now because of the time of day. And, yeah, that's the gist of what's going on right now, in terms of what the weather's reporting anyways. Let me go ahead and actually check the measurements I'm getting here at home. Yeah, this is to be expected. It's already 84 according to this thermostat here. 86 in this room. Let's close this door so the heat doesn't get in the rest of the house. $84 in the bathroom right now, so yeah, generally 84 around the house. Probably gonna be hotter in select rooms. Even the living room, which actually has been good about staying cooler, is 84, with the ceiling fan blasting on high. The windows aren't even open. I closed them. There shouldn't be any more heat intrusion, but there still is, just because it's so hot outside right now. This weather station here, you know, the one that's above the deck, is currently registering 105. So that is probably accurate to what the heat index is. And now I'm going to go down here real quick, so I can get what the weather station that is shaded is saying. This one is saying 91.2. It actually went down, to my surprise. I don't know whether I trust that or not, because I would expect the heat is still climbing as of right now. But that's what's going on for right now. I need to spray down my panel again. It hasn't even been like half an hour. I think I last did like 12:35 or something, I don't know. It's 1:09 p.m. now, and the water has pretty much completely evaporated except for that little spot over there, so it's time to spray it down again. And this time I brought my phone out here so we can watch how the input power that's being registered changes as I spray the panel down. It's kind of hard to see, but right now it's currently 288 watts or something. And now let's spray the panel. Alright, and there it goes. It is increasing. 300. 301. See, it's going up. Let's hit it again. It is producing kind of a rainbow effect. I don't know if you can see that. I see it in person, and I kind of see it showing up on camera too. Okay. And now the power input has jumped up to 317. So it is making a difference, just like I said earlier. I just wanted to do it with my phone out here to actually look at the power input in real time so that you would actually believe me in case you didn't the first time, but it does indeed make a difference. And I wanted to show it with the numbers here, just to compare. Let's hit it one more time. And there's my air conditioner. Hoping that will do something too, I'm not sure. Probably not the greatest idea to be spraying extra water on my air conditioner. There's already a ton in the back, so I don't think that's necessary to do, but I'm going to see if maybe just a tiny bit over the window and stuff is going to help for better thermal insulation of the room, because the water is going to need some heat energy to evaporate. Alright. One more time for the solar panel. And there you can see we have now, if I can get another number there, 323 watts. Let's shut the water off and spray the rest of it. So this is very important. Always make sure you keep your solar panels cool in a heat wave like this to ensure the peak performance is maintained. Because it does indeed make a difference. If the panel is running too hot, it's not going to produce as much power as it otherwise would. As you can see there, I brought it up from 280 watts to 320 watts just by spraying water on it to cool it down. Let's head back inside before the heat cooks me and my phone and my camera. It is quite hot out there. This is still showing only 90, which I don't think is entirely the truth. I'm wondering if tree cooling and shading is contributing to this lower reading, maybe along with wind as well, I'm not entirely sure. But it's definitely hotter out there than 90. And of course, this room is also getting hot because of that, so I'll just show one more time. I'm focusing on this number instead. 87 in this room, and the humidity inside is quite high. Alright, I am done messing around here. It is continuing to get hotter in the house and outside, and I pointed out previously that the side panels on my air conditioner do not have the best insulation, so I've cut 2 equal parts of aluminum foil here that I have a roll in my bedroom. So I just cut 2 equal sheets here that I'm going to put on each of the side panels, that way I can better thermally insulate my air conditioner. And maybe we will stop getting so much heat intruding into my bedroom. Now I just have to figure out how they will best fit. And I am going to have to shovel them into the accordions. I need 2 12x7 pieces, but I have 2 12x9 pieces. And that should hopefully account for, you know, the indents on the side panels. So I'm going to go ahead and put those up and hope that that will work. And here are the foil sheets in position. Go around here, and you can get a better look from the back. Let's hope that that will make a difference in the insulation. You can see the left one I kind of inserted it into the grooves a little bit, and then the right one I just left flat. I'm gonna measure it with my thermal camera from the inside to see if that actually did any difference, and you know, while I'm out here I may as well spray down the solar panel because the wattage is decreasing again. Just while I'm out here, because why not? It's good to keep this cool anyways as often as possible, so that's what I'm gonna do. So let's just grab this here, spray this down again. I think this accidentally... Yep, this is on a different setting now. Let me fix that real quick. Alright, it's back on shower. Let's spray this down. Watch the wattage go back up. I saw it going back down to like 290, so I wanted to spray the panel down to cool it down again. I'm going to keep this going for a while so that it can cool down. Alright, now I'll let the water evaporate a little bit. The water coming in should be cool now, so I'll give it a minute to evaporate. There you can see it's evaporating very quickly, as I've shown you earlier. Now we'll spray it again. Much cooler water. And what is happening here is the water is taking all of that thermal energy to evaporate. So this in turn absorbs the thermal radiation from the sunlight, first of all, and also is going to take some thermal energy from the panel itself, which has been taking thermal energy from the sun all day. Because the sun, when it's hitting the panel, only some of that is actually getting converted to electrical energy through the photonic, you know, whatever the heck's going on inside this panel. A bunch of it, because the panel is a dark absorptive surface, is being converted into heat. And that heat is preventing the panel from working at its peak efficiency, so I want to try and prevent that from happening as much as I can. And to do that, it has to be periodically cooled down throughout the day on a day like today where it's very hot. There we go. Alright. That should be good for right now. And also, the shade is starting to get close to the panel, so hopefully I'll only have to spray it down one more time today, and then it will be good for the rest of the afternoon. Let's head back inside now. Alright, it's time to check if adding that foil made any difference. I do immediately see a visual difference. The side panels do look darker. Whereas, you know, they were letting light through before, now the aluminum foil being on them is shading that out too. So hopefully this will be a better barrier. And, once again, producing more power thanks to cooling down the panel. And my EcoFlow is getting enough power to keep my air conditioner going as long as it's making power. It's recovering pretty well. Anyways, in order to, you know, actually check if this is doing anything, we must observe the thermal camera. And it's still warm. And you can see it's still cool where my air conditioner would output the air. This may just be residual heat energy though, and over time it will dissipate. Let us hope. But theoretically, having the extra layer of insulation there is going to prevent heat energy from spilling in the first place. I want to point out another benefit of this. If I, you know, examine right here where I've stuffed paper towels for insulation and stuff, the aluminum foil actually covers that area too, so theoretically, much better insulation now on the side panels. They do feel a little cooler. I think just some leftover thermal radiation has to, you know, escape. And then this insulation will be working. So, this in theory is going to help to stop heat intrusion a little bit in this room. That way my air conditioner won't have to run quite as much. It'll still have to run a lot on a day like today to keep all the heat energy out. But with the addition of a little bit of an extra thermal barrier for the side panels to make them insulated a lot better, that should keep some of that heat energy from coming back in as soon as it gets barfed out my window. My air conditioner is conditioning my air again. That wasn't very fast, you know. I mean, very long. It was very fast, you know. It's not very long between all these cooling cycles just because it's so hot out today. And I decided to further insulate this window. I have a reflector thing that I decided to put behind the blinds, and I closed the blinds, so hopefully that will block out even more energy. That way this room cools down more effectively, stays cooler. Still 75 according to the remote. That is not good. There's still a ton of heat that's getting in clearly, but I'm hoping that my insulation is helping. Let's hit it one more time with the thermal camera just to see. Also, let's shut off at the worst time. There's the power stats still making power from the solar panel, but it dipped back. It dipped back down to 280 watts already again. I'm gonna have to go outside and spray down the panel again. But the AC seems to be taking a little bit less power. I'm wondering if that's because it's still building pressure or what, but my EcoFlow is, you know, maintaining break-even input with output so far, and hopefully that will continue through like 2:30 p.m. as long as peak power is still coming in. That way I can get as much runtime with my air conditioner off of solar power instead of using the power grid as I possibly can. That way it reduces the strain on the power grid today, because there's probably a ton of it all up and down the US East, because this heat wave is affecting pretty much everybody east of the Four Corner states. So air conditioning demand is extremely high for today, and That's why I want to offload it to this instead of using the grid, because, well, if I can use my own power to power cooling for my room, that is obviously preferred, not just by me, but by people who are distributing power and stuff. You know, the utility companies would obviously prefer that you do that to reduce strain on the grid. That way maybe it has a fighting chance of surviving the extreme levels of demands today. Everything helps, even though this is only 450 watts worth of cooling. And let's take a look at the thermal camera at how well this insulation tactic is working. And yeah, the temperature actually is going down on the side panels there, you can see. And where it looks brighter, it is also showing up brighter on the thermal camera because some more heat is still getting through there. And putting the blinds down seems to have helped too. There's less thermal energy getting in the room now. And there's the left panel. It actually does look like it is working, so that is good. The remaining issue is obviously right here, because the rest of the house is also very hot, so yeah, a lot of heat's gonna be getting in through the door here, because the door doesn't make a perfect seal. When the door is closed, obviously, barely any will get in, but there is still thermal energy getting in through the door, which is bad. So, yeah. But with the window being better insulated now, with my modifications on the inside and outside to achieve a better thermal barrier, hopefully my air conditioner will have to run a little bit less to maintain the temperature in here. Honestly, I should have thought of this last year when it was 102 degrees here. That would have helped a lot to reduce the run time, because it had to run for like 2.5 hours straight at one point just to keep my room to temperature. So yeah, I kind of wish I had thought of that last year, but oh well. At least I thought of it this year, and this is a pretty good time to think of it, because tomorrow is going to be pretty much the same as today, and today is brutal. Alright, so it's now like 2:14 p.m. I wanted to show you this. This is the updated temperature graph. It says it peaked at 98 earlier, and something weird's going on where we have a little afternoon dip and then temperature continues to go up. Not actually sure what is going on here, but it seems like the peak might be happening in the later afternoon hours instead of the early afternoon hours like usual. And I did go out and spray down the solar panel once more, but unfortunately the shade is catching up, so I'm making less power now. I may be able to get one more cooling cycle out of my air conditioner from my EcoFlow today, but I'll have to put it back to grid power quite soon. And it is still cooling right now. It's almost satisfied. It's getting close. So yeah, I've done everything that I can to ensure peak performance, to get, you know, maximum solar gains today, and to run my air conditioner off of the grid for as long as I can today. But this is just how reality is. I'm only going to be able to get one more cooling cycle out of it at most, and then after that I'm going to have to plug it back into the grid power. It's unfortunate, but what else can you do? I've done everything I can to alleviate the grid strain today. I've made as much solar power as I can, spraying down the panel to cool it down occasionally, just so that I could make a little bit more power and improve its efficiency a little bit. And yeah, the shade is starting to catch up, so I'm not going to be able to make much more power today, and that's just how it is. My air conditioner is just satisfied. It's 2:25 p.m. right now, and I'm still making power, but not much. It's down to 100 watts coming in through the solar panel now. So yeah, I'm gonna monitor the room temperature closely and see if my EcoFlow can get some charge back before my air conditioner has to start cooling again. hopefully the extra thermal insulation is going to help, so that it doesn't have to run as much now. But I do have to be careful now because getting pretty low in terms of what power is left to give from my EcoFlow and the sun. The shade caught up with the panel. It's almost 2:30, so it's kind of around where it should be, you know, declining in input now. But it's pretty unfortunate because that means that I am going to have to plug my air conditioner back into the grid. And if the temperature in here is going up too quick and not allowing my EcoFlow to replenish enough, then I'll have to do it before the next cooling cycle. Otherwise, if it does take long enough for the temperature to go back up in here, I might be able to get one more cooling cycle out of this before it drops down too low and starts pulling power from the grid, which I really do not want to do. So I'm just going to hold my hopes out that it will recharge a little bit more and I'll be able to get another cooling cycle out. But we'll see. Well, another retroactive update has happened, pushing today's high temperature to 99, which is crazy. It does look like there is another little heat hill happening in the late afternoon. But there is the new updated temperature graph outside. And that spike there goes all the way up to 99 degrees now, so pretty much triple digits. If that gets updated again, it probably will be pushed to above 100. And getting notifications for low solar power, which is bad. Also, extreme heat warnings extended again. So that's not very good. And the temperature is not really holding all that well in here. It's already going back up. My air conditioner didn't even satisfy that long ago. So, I am unfortunately going to have to plug it back into the grid. It made it to like 2:30 p.m. At least, so some good power from the sun and for my air conditioner. But I am going to have to plug it back into grid power now, so what I'm going to do is unplug it from my EcoFlow and plug it back into the wall. And I'm going to disengage the inverter, and hopefully whatever little sun is still hitting the panel will be able to replenish some of the battery for tomorrow and overnight, so I can charge my computer, because I do that from this EcoFlow now too. And no, I don't mean this computer, you know, the one that's down there and displaying on this monitor here. I refreshed that like 40 minutes ago or something. I'm talking about my smaller computer over there. I want to still have enough reserve power here to be able to do that too. In any case, now that my air conditioner is back on grid power, yes, it says Comfort Sense is disabled now, but I found out I don't even need to do anything about it because the remote still has Comfort Sense turned on, so as soon as one of those temperature blips gets sent to my air conditioner, it actually fixes itself. So I wonder if I can, you know, just stand here until that happens and we can actually witness that in action. The Comfort Sense light will just, you know, light back up as soon as the air conditioner receives one of those signals and realizes, oh, I'm still in Comfort Sense mode. I should have Comfort Sense lit up and be receiving temperature signals from the remote. All this time I've been, you know, actually turning it off and back on just to fix it, because I thought, you know, every time I switch power sources for the air conditioner, or it has to come back to life after a power failure, Comfort Sense would just, you know, be disabled, and then I have to re-enable it myself. Otherwise it's going to use its own stupid internal sensor for temperature sensing. But turns out Comfort Sense fixes itself as long as it's still turned on the remote. So even if the air conditioner does lose power for a moment and it forgets that it is in Comfort Sense mode, as soon as the remote sends a temperature signal, the air conditioner realizes, oh crap, I'm supposed to still be in comfort sense mode. And we'll see if we can see that happen. Yep, there it is. Comfort sense light just lit back up. Now that that has happened, let me actually go and look at the weather stations. The rest of the house is extremely hot now with this thermostat. Let me cast some light on it so you can see it better. Yeah, there we go. It's 84 on this thermostat here. Which is, yeah, not very good for an indoor temperature. It is too hot. The bathroom was registering 84 degrees as well. The living room with the ceiling fan still blasting on high. The windows are still closed. This is just recirculating the air throughout the room, which I don't really think is doing much, other than maybe giving this a more accurate reading to the rest of the room. It's 84.3 in here. This weather station is registering 104 right now because of deck radiation. The relative humidity looks to have gone up, which is bad. And for the indoor sensor here, it says 85. That is not good at all. Yeah. This is just about there too. It's 84.9. It's going to hit 85 any minute now. And down here with this weather station, this room got up to 88 degrees. That is bad. But the weather station is saying 88.8. I'm not sure what's going on and why there's this little dip in the early afternoon, because it seems like the temperature is going back up now. And this is probably going to register higher. 88.8 doesn't really seem accurate. Yeah, now it's going back up. Now it says 89. And it is really hot in here, and the humidity is high, which is, of course, the biggest issue here. That makes it feel even worse than it actually is. But of course, my bedroom is still holding a pretty good temperature. And you might be curious, how much power was I actually using off of my EcoFlow? I did show you that in yesterday's video, and I will show you that again in today's. Just so you get an idea of just how much power I used strictly from the sun instead of pulling from the grid, you know, to alleviate the grid strain, because it would be quite high today, especially during peak heat hours. So I will be showing you that later tonight, along with all the temperature graphs around the house again, which I also did yesterday and will do again today. And, you know, pretty much for every day of the heat wave, even though for the majority of Saturday, because it's 4th of July, I'm actually going to be at my aunt's and won't be here, so I think I'm just going to, you know, leave my air conditioner plugged into the wall for that day, at least for most of the day. Maybe for a little while I'll run it off my EcoFlow, you know, while I'm here, before I actually have to go to my aunt's, but for most of the day it's just going to be left plugged into the wall, because we're going to be there for pretty much the entire day until the sun sets. So I don't want it to drain my EcoFlow, and then it starts pulling from the grid again, which will mess up all the data that I'm getting, because I want to see pure yellow in the app on the input side, which indicates solar power. So I'm just going to have to leave my air conditioner plugged into the wall that day for the most part. And I'm not going to be here to, you know, really manage anything here, so fans aren't going to be running because, well, it's going to be empty here, of course. Windows will be closed and everything, so hopefully it doesn't get too hot inside, but yeah, my room is going to be the only one that has air conditioning, so that's the only room that's going to have proper cooling, and well, it'll be interesting to see what happens when the house is empty and nothing is being done to actively cool the house or any heat intrusion from opening doors and windows and stuff. But of course, when we're back at night, that's when I can, you know, open up windows and put fans in and stuff, so we can cool it down in here. And Saturday will hopefully be the last day of the heat wave. kind of on the fence about Sunday because it's still going to be in like the 80s. And it may, you know, bump up just a little bit higher because that's a consistent trend with these heat waves is whatever's forecasted, the temperature always ends up higher than the forecast, so yeah. In any case, here's what's going on right now. It's still very, very hot, and, you know, more updates from the weather service and everything, and my air conditioner is still doing its job, and, yeah, that's that. Alright, well, this is kind of an issue. I am looking at my, the current house voltage, and it is 114, which is not great. That is a pretty bad sign. I'm probing it from my UPS, which is, of course, connected to the grid, so yeah, it's just where I have an open outlet to probe. And this is a pretty bad sign. It sounded like my air conditioner was turning on slow. So, yeah, I had to check, and, well, that kind of verifies my suspicion that something is very much wrong here. There's probably immense grid load today, so, yeah. That is not good, and, well, verifies the reason why I've been using my EcoFlow whenever possible to run my air conditioner. You know, just because I'm making power from the sun, I may as well use it, and alleviating grid stress during these massive heat waves is always a good thing, because there's pretty clear evidence of grid stress right here in my own house. And this would be that evidence. So, yeah, that might be an issue, and hopefully, you know, we can avoid catastrophe here. Otherwise, if catastrophe does strike, that will be pretty bad. However, you know, there are solutions. Like, you know, my EcoFlow, it's still making a little bit of power. Well, it doesn't recognize it as enough to charge the battery anymore, which is not good. But I still have some reserve power. And if the grid does end up failing, I believe the high school may have a generator. I'm not entirely sure, but if I really need to, I can, you know, bring my EcoFlow down there to recharge it. And then I can bring that power back here to run my air conditioner with again. But that's really only in a severe emergency circumstance, which I really hope doesn't happen. And I wouldn't expect it to, but we can never doubt the possibilities, so, yeah. Especially with the AC voltage being this low, which is quite a bad sign. So, yeah. Let me go ahead and take my watt meter and plug it into a different outlet in a different room. Just to assure you it's not just my bedroom, because my air conditioner is running, because my air conditioner only pulls like 450 watts, so it's not a humongous load and really shouldn't be dropping voltage like that. So let me find some outlet, like this one right here, I guess will be a good one to look at. Of course I can't fit it in because of this stupid thing here. Alright, I'm just gonna try to anyways. Alright, I'm gonna have to unplug this. Alright. 116. That is still kind of on the low side. Let me check the frequency. Alright, we're still at 60 Hertz, so that's... at least that's fine. But that's also kind of a lower than usual voltage, which is concerning. Let's check some other outlets. Because, yeah, there are two phases, so I'm wondering if that outlet may have been on the other phase. Let's, look at the outlet in here and see what we got here. Oh yeah, this is showing the same 114 I was getting in my bedroom, which is not good. So I guess that outlet was on the other phase, maybe. But this is a bad sign because it looks like house-wide the voltage is below where it should be. Yeah, it's a pretty serious sign of grid strain today because air conditioning is in high demand. So, yeah, that's not good. That thing over there still says 89. I'm not going to get a close-up. It's the same as it was earlier. But, that's a bad sign. So, yeah, I'm going to be careful with, what's going on with the power here, and if anything else happens, I will let you know. Okay, well, this weather station is now saying 105.2, the one above the deck. And I believe, you know, at this point in the day, it's 3:21 p.m., the shade should start to be catching up there. Let's see what the one down here says. Oh, this room is so hot. Oh wow, look at that. The temperature actually is rebounding. It's 91 outside again. Huh. I'm wondering what happened earlier where we had a little dip at like 1 to 2 p.m. because now the temperature is rebounding again and it's once again above 90 out. And in this room, 89, which is quite bad. Of course, because of the immense solar energy coming in here that we can't do anything about. And then if we look outside, yeah, you can see the shade actually is starting to get onto the deck. So the fact that this sensor out here, which you can't see from here, but there is a sensor there, which I have shown earlier. The fact that it is reading 105.2 now means it definitely is heating up more again outside. I'm wondering what happened that there was a little dip earlier. Now the temperature is rebounding. Let me see if I can go outside and, you know, check around. Well, that's still going up. 91.2 now. Just a few minutes ago it was 91.0, now it's 91.2. Let's head outside again. Oh, it's hot out here. There's the sensor I was talking about. Oh my god. It is so hot out here. The air that's being blown by the wind feels like it's coming from a space heater. And here's my panel completely in the shade now, so there's no longer much solar energy being produced. There is still going to be a little bit of residual wattage coming in through this panel before the sun actually sets, because there's still, you know, some photonic energy that is making it through. It's just that it's not directly hitting the panel, but some of it does scatter and enter the panel, so it is still going to produce just a tiny little bit of power until the sun actually sets. And as the sun is setting, there is a little bit of break over there where the sun will once again end up getting onto the panel, so there will be a little bit of extra power between 5 to 7 p.m. as well. My air conditioner there is conditioning my air, and this is it doing its job from the outside. You can even see the reflector that I put up there. You may or may not be able to tell I have my blinds down, and you can see the foil sheets that I put on the side panels, because I really want to insulate my room as much as I can, just to reduce the runtime of my air conditioner just a little bit. That way, you know, I won't have to use as much power to cool my room, which I earlier was doing so that I could conserve the power I was making, but now I want to just alleviate grid strain because I had to switch this back to grid power. And it is just so hot out here. In fact, I was actually looking around seeing what are the record high temperatures overall here in New England, and last year we did indeed set some new records, and it happened in late June, even though records are usually set in July and August. There's the other sensor, by the way. The one that's been here in the shade the whole time. It feels so hot out here. Oh, see, you can see and even hear some water in the back of my air conditioner. So last year, you may remember, I'll have that video as a card right about now, so you can click on it if you want to see. It hit 102 degrees here and 105 in Boston, which actually did break records from like the 1970s and even earlier. This is going up tremendously now. 91.5. I was out there for a few minutes. Now it's like a whole half a degree higher than it was when I started this recording here, just for this little take. So it's getting hotter again. I really can't even be out there for that long. It's so hot. And yeah, just talking about that video last year, because we did indeed set records in some places. There are still some standing records from like a century ago, and from 1975 apparently as well. You know. But even in those places where those records still stand, we were not far off last year. It was 102 here, 105 in Boston, and some of those records around the region did fall to last year's extremely hot day. And yes, I do have a video of it, as I mentioned. And one of the comments when I was outside that I made in that video is that the outdoor air, every time there is a gust of wind, feels like a space heater. And just being out there right now, I felt that same thing, and being able to compare that to last year is kind of concerning. And you can see the temperature is quickly going back up now, which is also a pretty bad sign. This one here is kind of holding steady though. It still says 105. And that might be due to the fact that even though the temperature is going back up, the amount of radiation coming off of the deck is actually decreasing now that the shade is covering it, in part. But the outdoor temperatures are unfortunately not the only ones that are increasing. The indoor temperatures are also getting worse. We now have broken the 85-degree threshold in here. This has a whole bunch of dust on it. Yeah, get that off there. Yeah, there you go. 85.2 in this room. The rest of the rooms aren't really that much better. This is saying 84. Here in the bathroom, 84.6. Oh, 84.7. And in the living room, holy crap. Higher than I thought it would be. It's 84.9, so just about 85 in this room too. Yikes. And that is with active air circulation too. Yeah, this is still going. And I actually did get an update last night regarding the Harbor Breeze Mayfield. Somebody will be coming in Thursday next week to do the electrical work, so that the ceiling fan can finally go up in my bedroom. About time. And waiting until next week, obviously cannot have it happen now because of this heat wave. Because, yeah, attic access is going to be necessary for doing ceiling wiring. And the attic, I may or may not have mentioned, gets extremely hot during these heat waves. Because there's no ventilation up there, and the sun is directly contributing to all of that heat because of the roof. And the roof being a dark material, meaning it's going to absorb a lot of that energy, and the energy just radiates into the attic, so it's probably at least 20 degrees hotter up there than it is throughout this main area of the house. And considering this main area of the house is around 85, that means the attic is probably no less than 105 right now, which is quite bad. And that would explain why this house seems to store a lot of heat overnight, even with active cooling efforts. It's because there's a lot of heat above the house that accumulated throughout the day that's radiating back down in here. Another note that I made last year is how long my air conditioner had to run for at times. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is flying upward. 92.3 again. So all of a sudden it's just once again rebounding. So the heat is having a second, what would I say? A second coming. It was getting quite hot earlier, you know, in like the very early afternoon to even very late morning hours. And then it had a little dip for 1 and 2 p.m. for some reason, and now it is resurging. Not a good thing. And even in here, my air conditioner didn't shut off how long ago. It already up to 73 on this remote again. And this is with all of the measures that I'm able to take to keep this room cool, to reduce the runtime on my air conditioner and reduce the load on the grid. Because I also noticed earlier that the voltage is unusually low here, which is a pretty bad thing, especially considering this air conditioner is the only active large load that we even have going. Let me actually just plug this in real quick. I want to see what we're at now. If it's gotten any better since my air conditioner is currently idle. Alright, let's see here. Oh wow. No improvement. None whatsoever. There are no large loads in this house running right now, and the voltage is still low. This is obviously due to grid strain, and it's nothing to do with anything in this house because there's currently no large loads being run. So, that is a problem. And it's a problem that is completely out of my hands and cannot be solved here because, well, the problem is external. It's definitely due to everybody else, you know, around pretty much everywhere up and down the United States East Coast running air conditioning to keep their homes cool. This being no exception, but this air conditioner only draws up to 450 watts, and there's no other large loads in this house that are running during this time frame. So the fact that the voltage is that low with no large loads is concerning to me. In any case, this is what I was reading up on. This is what was forecasted for June 24th last year, where we had that extremely hot day. And, yeah, this is all the alerts that were issued for heat risk on that day. Which, yeah, pretty bad. Covering all of New England with at least moderate heat risks, maybe some minor ones along these tiny little coastal areas. And then most of New England, except for like northern Maine, being covered in the red shade here. Maybe some of the southern coast of Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and the Cape, of course, was still orange, but otherwise red for pretty much everybody here. And there were even purples for extreme heat right in the Boston metro area. And you can see it down here too. But, yeah. And then these are the supposed records that we had. Hottest day on record around New England. Boston's record from 1911 was 104, and as I recall, it hit 105 there last year, breaking that record. Worcester, I have no idea. That's 102 according to the records, and I don't know what it clocked in at last year. Here we clocked in at 102 last year, and I don't see this town on this list. So I cannot speak for what the previous record was. And you can see there's even a 2010 record listed here too. And those were the heat alerts that were issued. Extreme heat warnings, which, well, there are extreme heat warnings in place this year too, for today and tomorrow. And maybe even Saturday, depending on how bad Saturday is going to get. And it's once again the heat risk map. Another map there. Temperatures and heat index. That's what was measured. Forecast heat index, that was for July 24th last year. Again. Yeah, that's all the data that we had from the extremely hot day we had last year. And I am worried this is getting it to a comparable level. I didn't expect that I would get quite to the same level, but I did have the feeling it would come very close, and, well, it does seem to be doing that. But thankfully, the the record stands from last year, so it hasn't been broken yet, but we'll have to see with retroactive updates if anything changes regarding that. The outdoor temperature, according to the weather station, is continuing to rebound beyond what it was reading earlier. It's now saying 94. So it seems like some sudden burst of heat is just making its way in now, because it is getting quickly much hotter out. I am not sure what is going on with this, why there was an early afternoon dip, and now all of a sudden a late afternoon resurgence that seems to be of greater magnitude than the initial heat surge we had today. It's definitely also worth mentioning the rest of the house is also getting hotter by the minute. 85 has been crossed in this room now, and we have 84.8 here in the bathroom. It just went down. Okay, there it is. Yeah. And then in the kitchen, of course, that is the hottest room as of right now. If we look at this weather station, indoor temperatures says almost 86. But outdoor temperature, the one above the deck, is now receding because the sun is no longer hitting the deck. So that radiation is disappearing, which is a good thing. That means it is going to cool off a little bit right outside that door. But still, it got really hot. Yeah, this is around 85.5 degrees here. Oh, it just jumped up to 85.6 just because I'm standing here. But it's still quite hot though. Particulars don't matter. This is still registering 84. And then in here, it actually feels a tiny bit cooler. And I'm noticing, the window fan is actually running and it's positioned right by the vent. Which I am thinking, because there actually is some cooler air underneath the house, this is probably bringing some of that cooler air up, helping to get a little bit of limited cooling in here. I'm going to go ahead and mostly close this. There still has to be a path for the air to get back out. And then in here it's actually, I have to go ahead and get the thermometer on the wall. It's only 84.6 in here. This is better than the rest of the house, but it's still hot. And this is still going up. It's almost hit 95 now. I'm gonna go outside and see if there's anything going on. Still should close this even though there's no longer any sun hitting the deck. So there's no more deck radiation, which is good. Okay, there's some sun starting to get, from the sunset, it's starting to hit the solar panels now. If I come back here, yeah, it's quite hot. But this is not getting hit by any sunlight, so solar radiation is not the cause of this sudden temperature increase. It has to be something else. I think it might just be a much warmer air mass is pushing in now, which, well, that's kind of unusual that it's happening right now, and it's happening so suddenly, but it seems like a sudden push of warm air is just moving in now. It feels really hot out here, and well, it is really hot out here. The air conditioner's still doing its thing. There's just a ton of heat. Bet that thing says 95 now. Still going to close this. Yeah, it says 94.8. It's gonna say 95 in like 2 seconds. I'm willing to bet. So I'm just gonna keep my eyes on this, because, yeah, that would only be expected since it's resurging so quickly. These refresh every 30 seconds, so yeah, I bet the next refresh, which it will be pretty obvious when it happens. Yeah, there it is. That's a refresh right there. It's going to be probably the next one. It's going to say 95. Just because the temperature's going up so quick now. Yeah, I just forgot to mention on a separate note. Oh, there it is. 95 degrees. Look at that. But anyways, on a separate note, it's almost 90 in this room. That's not good at all. It's getting really, really hot. .9 degrees, so basically 96 outside. It's 4:17 p.m. right now. Yeah, this level of heat just keeps going up. There's definitely something going on where a whole bunch of extra heat is just pushing into the region all of a sudden. Because even earlier, before the little temperature dip that we had for some reason, it was only up to like 92. Now we're right around 96 degrees. Probably going to hit 96 in a few minutes. And there we have it. It is officially hit 96 degrees outside. Just like with previous heat waves, it is simply too hot to be running kitchen appliances. See, it's almost 86 in this room now, the kitchen. And it's really not much of a different story anywhere else. As you can see there. And there. So just like with previous heat waves, we are going to have to get food from elsewhere. It is too hot to be running this abomination here. You know, the stove and the oven. And even the microwave probably isn't a great idea to be using. Because, once again, heat. Can't have extra of that when there's already so much of it that we don't even want in here. And of course the fridge is also dumping out a ton of heat to keep its own insides cold. So it is just getting hotter and hotter, especially with the inclining outdoor temperature all of a sudden. Whereas you can see, it is now 96 outside, measured here in my own backyard. So, yeah, doing everything I can to try and mitigate the heating happening throughout the house, just from all the heat that's spilling in. And you can see in this room, it's 89.4. It is almost 90 in this room. A ton of solar energy came in throughout there. There's still some solar energy coming in throughout there as well. And it's just extraordinarily hot, especially in here, but also throughout the rest of the house. My bedroom is the only room with proper air conditioning, and yeah, my air conditioner has been going all day to keep my room cool. I've done some extra insulation methods, as you've seen earlier, so I'm hoping that's helping, but it is still extraordinarily hot. It has now gone up to 96.2 degrees. As small of a difference as that is the new official highest temperature recorded today on this weather station. Alright, it's time for another observed temperature update. I just saw this weather station at 96.4 a minute or two ago. And I decided I would look at this temperature graph here one more time. Of the observed temperature here according to the weather service. So it was apparently peaking at 99 around 3 p.m. And there are some spots in Massachusetts that did hit 100 today as well, and are expected to also hit 100 tomorrow. So, very, very hot. This heat wave is no joke, but still not quite the magnitude of what we had last year. That was something else. Very close, but not quite. And I just heard my air conditioner turn on from here. You can hear the compressor starting to ramp up now. So that just happened right now, and this is staying at 96.2, but it did show 96.4. Let me see if I can get that for you. Alright, I have to hit the up button, and let's see. Yeah, there you go. That's what it was reading just a minute ago. And this is what it's continuing to read now. This display is quite faint. I Definitely have to change the batteries in this thing. I'll do that later tonight. But yeah, that's right now. There, I also want to do this real quick. I'm just gonna look at some points on the map. You can already see Washington, D.C. at 100 there. Let's look at a few more points. I'm gonna zoom in. New York, 101 as a high recorded there. Washington, D.C. currently sitting at 100 degrees. Zoom in here on Philadelphia. This is somewhere near Philadelphia, 101. Let me actually hit Philadelphia directly. Yeah, Philadelphia also got 101. Southern New Jersey, somewhere in Southern New Jersey, hit 102 earlier. Let's see. Providence hit 98. That's still pretty hot. And somewhere in Connecticut, let's probe Hartford. East Hartford there, 99. Just like it was here. And Boston, 100. Boston hit 100 degrees today. So yeah, I just wanted to do that real quick. So much heat all up and down the East Coast, as you can see by all of the red on the map there. It is pretty crazy. Alright, it's time to do a 5:30 p.m. update on around the house temperatures and the outdoor temperature. Let's start right here. The kitchen is 86.4, 64% relative humidity. It's pretty bad. The main thermostat is also reading currently 86. It's also pretty bad. In here, oh my god, that's really bad. 87.8, 0.9. It's almost 88 in this room. That must be immediately fixed. I see this window's open. Let's close that so that the outdoor heat is not getting in here anymore. That won't completely alleviate the issue because the computer is also generating some heat just by being on. The bathroom, 86 degrees. The living room, same thing, 86.1. Oh, hold on. This is heat indexes throughout New England, according to the news. And then there's the actual high temperatures for the day. That's what we saw today. It was so bad. In any case. Oops. There's that. That weather station is cooling down, thankfully. In any case, we're gonna look down here too, because this is a very important metric to look at. This is still at 96.2 for the current outdoor temperature being observed here. And this room is almost at 90 degrees too. So I don't even think it matters that this door's open because it's already hot in here as it is. But yeah, the heat is still continuing and it's just getting warmer and warmer in the house, and I just can't do anything about it right now. This heat is going to linger throughout the entire night, so overnight relief is out of the question. So I guess maybe for a tiny bit of cooling I could try using fans again, but it's only going to do so much. And of course, I just have to show real quick, the bedroom is still holding at the temperature I desire it to be at. Around 70 to 72 degrees in here. The remote's saying 73, it's right by the door. My air conditioner's still going. So, yeah, all is good in here. I guess I will just see you later tonight for, what will be happening at night and an attempt at cooling with the nighttime air, which is still going to be very, very warm. Here is a quick update. A retroactive update has pushed today's high to 100 degrees. I kind of knew this was going to happen, and now you can see it there. 100 degrees, peak temperature happening around 4 p.m. So that happened. And of course, the forecast for tomorrow still calls for it to be quite hot. But yeah, there we are. I'm also working on this, which I'm gonna throw a bunch of charts on the video towards the end, just to, you know, so you can get some statistics at the end of the video today for what actually happened. I've been getting some data and everything, so I'm gonna be showing that after I showcase everything outside at night and inside as well for all the cooling that we're going to be doing when it hopefully cools a little bit outside, because I really don't expect it to cool that much. And then I've collected a bunch of data, and I'm even plotting my own data, which I will showcase after I show the temperature graphs around the house and my EcoFlow data. Alright, this isn't exactly the update I was hoping I would bring. It is currently just about 8 p.m. In fact, it's exactly 8 p.m. now. My watch just hit 8 p.m. And this is the current voltage level in my house, which is bad. This is very bad. I've noticed that my lights have been flickering, and I've heard my air conditioner slowing down every time that happens too. This is obviously a pretty serious issue, and I don't know, the light may even look a little bit dim, but I have been seeing noticeable flickers more often than every few minutes, which is not good. My UPS doesn't think that this is low enough of concern, but to me this is kind of concerning. My camera lens fogged up when I walked out here, but the outdoor temperature, as you can see, is dropping. If I put my light on that, yeah, that doesn't help at all. 92.4 right now outside. My camera lens just fogged up like crazy as soon as I came out here. So, let's unfog it real quick. I wanted to show you if we get the same concerningly low voltage throughout the rest of the house, and it seems, yeah, pretty much. That is 111, which is still really, really low. So, we may have a problem here. Ah, yikes. This low voltage problem is getting worse. Now it's only 107.5 in here. This is going to be a pretty major issue if it keeps dropping like this. Alright, it is almost 9:30 p.m. and it's time to turn on the fans for the night. There is not going to be much overnight relief at all based on how the temperature is currently trending. It is still just about 89 out there. It's 88.8 right now. But given that it's almost break even with some indoor temperature areas, like, you know, it's 88 in this room, I think turning the fans on at this point will start to introduce a little bit of cooling, I hope. So let's get started with this fan. So the tap the power there, and yeah, that should be on the maximum speed. So now that's going, and whatever little effect this is gonna have, powerful fan, but the outdoor temperature is still so warm that it's probably not even gonna do that much. Alright. In the kitchen, the Pro Air Max is already running. I actually turned it on like an hour ago, because, well, the kitchen usually gets warmer on average. Although, tonight, just like I had said earlier, we avoided using the kitchen appliances because it's simply too hot inside to do so. So, yeah, we just ended up getting Taco Bell. And, the refrigerator, unfortunately, that's not something that can be resolved, so it's still dumping out a ton of heat, and it is still just about 87 in here, so I've had the Pro Air Max going for a little airflow. It's not doing much at the moment, but it is providing a little bit of airflow. In fact, I can even Put my hand up to feel it. There's some air coming in, just not a whole lot. And as the outdoor temperature drops, hopefully this will actually do something. I really don't expect it to change that much in this room, but anything helps. Now in the living room. Yeah, ceiling fan's still blasting. It's on its highest speed right now. And I have opened up these windows here. Great timing. So this one and the one across there are both all the way open. So hopefully there will be airflow throughout this room. Stirred up, of course, by the ceiling fan. And my dad is currently in the office, so the window fan in there is on. So, yeah. Now, of course, because it got so hot today, and it's still going to be really warm overnight, we're going to have to put the other window fan in the other bedroom tonight. My dog desperately needs some sort of cooling for relief, so that is going to have to happen for the night. Let's go outside now. That way I can show you what we're looking at on the outside here. Yeah. Alright, pool cover is off, and there is the pool uncovered. I'm gonna turn my light brightness up temporarily so you can better see that. There we go. Just so you can see the entire thing. You can even see where the water is being pumped back in. And now, because there are bugs out here, I'm going to go ahead and turn this back down to what I had it set to. Just a mere 20% brightness. There's a lot of bugs out here, and I'd rather not mess with that. So I'll keep the light low brightness so as not to attract too many of them. That's still going, of course. Hopefully we won't have to have too much more runtime before the pool becomes usable. There's a lot of bugs out here. Yeah. So, solar panel yet again, which I've sprayed down like 5 times throughout the course of today. There's beetles out here. My air conditioner, and yeah, you can see my blinds are closed this time, and of course the aluminum foil sheets that I decided to put on the side panels for better insulation. See those reflecting there. And I think that might be a bee on the window. I don't know. That's something. Yeah, that's a bee. Alright, I don't like that. That is there. This window fan running. And I'm gonna go all the way down over here. This window, this is for the other bedroom. It's currently just open a little bit. But here's the thing. This is the window that the other window fan is going to be going in tonight, most likely. Because it's just, today was just too hot to mess with, and yeah, if there's not going to be that much overnight relief, you may as well take what little relief you can get, so yeah. Anyways, that's everything from outside for tonight, except for the Pro Max. I'm not going to go around the whole house again. Now, as for this window fan, what I'm going to go ahead and do is adjust the airflow setting and the speed. So now it's running on circulate mode on high speed, so it can just do pure air exchange, which is better. And hopefully we'll begin to lower the temperature in here, but of course the outdoor temperature is still very high, so it's not going to do much for right now, but as the temperature descends outside, hopefully it will have a greater effect. But yeah, look at that. Thermostat on the window fan is registering 89. Yikes. And then in here, yeah, let's do some temperature checks around the house. 87.5 in here. Yeah, it's not very good. The hallway thermostat, 86. The kitchen I already showed, but yeah, it's still around 87 in here. And yeah, right here is still reading 87 and 89 outside. Yikes. Let's look at the living room here. Just use the backlight here. 87.2. And in here, 86.7. Yeah. It is still so warm inside. And at this point, yep, this is the point where the fans are being turned on. And in my bedroom, where it is nice, cool, and not quite as humid, because my air conditioner has to run near constantly in order to keep it this way in here. I've got 72 with much lower humidity. And yeah, there's my air conditioner. And there is the other window fan down here, which probably will be going in the other bedroom a little bit later. And still having this problem with low voltage. It's currently 111.5 without my air conditioner running. All that's running right now, the Pro Max is a very, very low draw, probably most 5 or 6 watts right now, so that should be doing pretty much nothing to affect the voltage level in the house. And the other fans, probably at most 50 watts apiece, so I would say a total, you know, including the ceiling fan, the Govee fan, and the window fan in the office, probably around 150 watts worth of fanage going right now. And the Pro Max contributes almost nothing to the current fanning wattage. So, yeah. The fact that the voltage is this low means there is still a ton of grid strain from people keeping their homes cool. And since it's 9:30 p.m. and still super hot outside, yeah, that is very bad news, and I am worried the grid may end up failing at some point tonight or tomorrow. So, I'm gonna try and conserve what I've got in my EcoFlow for that sort of event. And when solar production starts tomorrow, I'm going to let the battery actually charge up to a much higher level instead of just immediately plugging my air conditioner into it. So in the event the grid ends up failing during this extreme heat event, I will have enough backup reserve to keep my air conditioner going for the rest of the day tomorrow. And yes, I do notice my light having some changes in brightness a little bit on occasion, and it's even flickering a little bit because of the drastically reduced voltage level that we have compared to normal, which I think is quite a bad thing. Hopefully it will, you know, fix itself throughout the night, but given that it's going to be super warm throughout the entire night, I can't really expect things to get much better, and tomorrow's going to be almost just as hot as today was, so yeah. It is 10:30 p.m. now, and there's still basically no improvement. The voltage is still low, which is bad. The temperature is still high, which is just as bad. Well, not in here. The temperature is still very low in here. We have 71 degrees registered over here. That's pretty good. 71 on this thing too. Well, around 71. And the AC remote says it is 73. My air conditioner is still doing an absolutely wonderful job. I am preparing to put this window fan in the other bedroom because I do genuinely think that it will be needed tonight. And that's even if cooling is going to be of any benefit tonight, because let me show you what we're still working with this late in the evening. The main thermostat says 86 still, which is actually even warmer than the height of the day. The camera line's fogged up again. That didn't help. Yeah, that's really not helping. Hold on. Alright, lenses cleared. Still 86.8 in here. The Pro Air Max is making a very, very slight difference. And yes, this is still running. Down in here, that fan is still cranking. And the temperature in here is starting to come down a little bit. It was 88 earlier, now it's 87. And outside it is around 87 as well, so yeah. The rate at which the temperature is falling in this room is correlated to the rate at which the temperature is falling outside. And, well, there is effectively a giant air connection between inside and outside here with this massive door. And I am facilitating air exchange with that fan, so this room is going to cool down basically just as quickly as it cools down outside, and it is cooling down pretty slowly out now, so that's not a very good thing. Alright, here in the office, with this window fan still blasting. Let's turn the light on so you can see. I'm holding the remote upside down. Alright, this is more neutral light now. Alright. Must have been changed earlier. In any case, this window fan is still going full power. It looks like a temperature setting has been set. So check what that is. It's set to 79. I'll turn it down to 75, which I doubt we'll even get down to, but better have it satisfy at a lower temperature that's more suitable. And it's still registering 88 right now, so it's a long way to go. Speaking of, this is still reading almost 87 as well. And the bathroom, 86.4. Well, yeah, that's still quite high as well. In the living room, almost 87 in here too. The ceiling fan is still blasting. And this weather station, yeah. You can see just how little relief we are getting right now. It is staying super warm. So, yeah. This is what we were warned about and what I had greatly feared. Along with a lot of power grid strain, there is also still very, very warm temperatures throughout the entire night. So, yeah, this is going to be a pretty difficult rest of this heat wave to endure, with temperatures staying this hot throughout the entire 24-hour period. Alright, I'm going to put it in this window fan now. This is the other bedroom. And, yeah, the whole house is still hot as it's outside, so I figured there's no reason not to add the other window fan in here. These window blinds are terrible. Okay, Somebody's car alarm is going off, but we're going to go ahead and ignore that. That has absolutely nothing to do with this here. And this may be a two-hand process, so give me 1 second. What I'm gonna do is just open the tripod legs like that. I'll get this fitted in. Alright, that did not work, so I'm just gonna fiddle with this real quick. Alright, now with the window fan in, I'm not going to turn it on yet, but the remote will be right here if the fan is actually needed for tonight. It is in the window, so it is ready when the need calls. Well, it turns out there's a problem with the remote for the window fan. Alright, so let me real quickly go to IR scope on my flipper. It might end up catching the signals from my air conditioning remote, but I don't know. What the heck? Now it's working fine. This was not even working just a second ago. Now that I want to make a video about the remote having a problem, it works fine. Okay. Let me go ahead and test on the window fan in question. I mean, it will work with this one too. Yeah. Of course, now when I try to showcase that there's a problem with the remote, it decides it wants to work properly again. In any case, it's still hot. You know, the story hasn't changed at all. Yeah. Alright. Since it's just about 11:30, I'm gonna go ahead and do one final check of the weather station down here. And we're getting, oh my god, 85.8. Yeah. So, yeah. It's gonna be hot all night, I bet. This is the final weather station temperature check of the night, and I'm gonna finish up that chart that I was making. So, with that out of the way, it's time for the data haul. It's time to look at all the temperature, humidity, whatever data that I have for today. So, this is what the weather app has gotten for today. This is the final one. So you can see overnight coming into today it was 74 at minimum. And then we had this large stretch where it was at least 98, peaking at 100 degrees at 4 p.m. And then you can see the temperature descending here. If we go to the feels like, it felt like overnight 77 because of very high humidity. And during the peak of the day, 104. Also because of high humidity and direct sunlight. And of course the humidity dew point is still 73 right now. And you can see that's kind of where it's been. 71, 72, 73, all along there. And then 8 a.m., 9 a.m. we got up to 77 degree dew point. Dew point was a lot higher here. And it went back down to 72 for the afternoon hours. 73, 72, 73. 75 to 76 degree dew point again for 8 to 9 p.m. 10 p.m. too. Now dew point's starting to go back down a little bit, but in general, humid all day. I have a lot of oh wait, the Govee app's open. I need that. All right, we're gonna start with in here, the bedroom. It's gonna be the first set of data that I do for the inside. And you can see a very spiky looking temperature graph here. The relative humidity graph and the dew point graph are the same, and the dew point has been well managed in this room, staying between 51 and 62 degrees. Humidity was managed well in here, and so was temperature, staying between 69 and 74. My air conditioner has done a lot of air conditioning cycles. That's not what I wanted to do. I'm trying to hit this. Let's look at the office now. Okay, it's gonna apparently fail for some reason. Let me try that again. And it has to load all the data in that it collected throughout the day. That will take just a second. There we go. The data is in. Now if I'll zoom out just a little bit here. Let's go to the daily view. There is the temperature graph throughout the day. As you can see, even over 8 a.m. it was still 80 degrees overnight in the office. Very hot. And then the temperature was rising in the early afternoon. And kind of consistent with what happened outside, you could see it dropped off a little bit between 2 and 4 p.m. and having the window fan drawing air from the vents also kind of helped in keeping the room a little bit cooler during this time stretch, and then all of a sudden the temperature surged up again and stayed quite high, and putting the window fan in the window had a very minimal effect, it seems. Relative humidity, that is what it looks like, between 56% and 73%, more based on the temperature, so the dew point will tell us more. And as you can see, the dew point kind of stayed around 70 to 71 degrees most of the day. It had a little valley around noon, and now the dew point is absurdly high, 74 in the office. That is not good. The bathroom, let's do the bathroom next. Has to connect. I'll give it a second to pull the data. Getting the current readings up there too. Alright, it has pulled the data. If we go to the day view, there's the temperature graph. That spike is just from a shower, because my mom is insane, still takes hot showers even when it's hot out. And you can see a lot smoother. There's no sudden spikes or anything, except for the spikes when, you know, that spike right there. But in general, smoother, because the bathroom doesn't have any sort of temperature or humidity management system. And likewise, that's what you can see with the relative humidity there. It stayed very high in the bathroom. Dew point averaging a lot higher there too. In fact, the minimum was 72. That's not very good. The kitchen. Let's do the kitchen now. Just gonna give it a second to pull the data. Alright, there we go. Data pulled. And I'm gonna go to the day view. That's what it's reading right now, by the way. And if you look at the temperature graph, this one is also quite a bit smoother, with a valley a little before 8 a.m. at 80.4 degrees, and then it just consistently goes up over the course of the day and peaks around 87. in line with the outdoor temperature. The relative humidity is not as smooth as you can see. That's what that looks like. And then the dew point, yikes, dew point hit 75 in the kitchen. And once again, a low dew point of 70.3. So, yeah, that's what all that is. Next up is my EcoFlow. Let's look at the data for that now. So, this is what it just is currently. You know, it's charged to 48%. Let me hit this so I can see all of the data for the day. The input total is 1.23 kilowatt hours. That is not that bad. That is actually pretty good. That's towards the high end of what I would make in a day. The output, 897 watt hours. That is mostly for my AC, but there's also a little bit of DC there for my computer. So my AC took around 850 of those watt hours, and this results in a total savings data of 31 cents. So that is how much I did not have to pay to the power grid. And this is, you know, basically the amount worth of what I ran off-grid today. If I go to the week, already $1.23 savings this week. And you can see Tuesday was just a tiny bit higher because I got a little more runtime that day. I have to be a little bit more conservative tomorrow just in case the grid does end up failing because of a low voltage issue that is currently going on. So that is the EcoFlow data, and as for that low voltage issue that I mentioned, well, it's kind of recovering, 114.5, so we're getting there, but it's still kind of a problem. Alright, now as for all the rest of the data that I promised you, I'm just going to overlay that on the screen here as I'm talking to wrap things up and describe what we are actually looking at here. Of course, while doing so, I can pull them up on my computer, which I have right here with me, so yeah. Let's begin with what I've been working on for the day, which is a temperature graph based on my observations through the weather station and what was actually observed right here at the house. And basically, what we have with that, I don't know why it just opened 6 times on my computer. It really is not supposed to do that. I don't know what is up with this. I double click it to open it and it opens 6 times for some reason. Okay, it actually opened way more than 6 times. I don't know why it did that. All I did was double click to open the file. Let me try again, see if it does it normally now. Okay, now it works fine. In any case, I'm actually just going to overlay it on the screen so you can see it better. What I noticed was something quite odd, so first of all, the biggest thing to point out is the overnight low is 74 degrees, quite warm. But it's not out of the question that it would happen sometimes where the overnight low stays in the lower 70s. That is pretty typical here during heat waves. So that is not too weird. And then there's a large temperature surge in the morning. The temperature starts to increase quite quickly. And already crossing the 90-degree threshold by 11 a.m., which you saw earlier in the video. Pretty much at the beginning, if I'm being honest. But here is where things get a little wonky. After we got past 12 p.m., it peaked around 92 degrees and then it actually started to fall off a little bit, going back down to around 88, before a second surge started happening after 2 p.m. And that surge was a lot larger, getting up to 96.5 degrees at the peak. So close to 97 degrees, very, very hot. And then the temperature started to fall quite slowly. And it is still decreasing very slowly as we go into the nighttime hours. And as we're heading overnight, it looks like it may end up staying completely above the 80-degree threshold, which is quite bad. That is going to require a lot of air conditioning for nighttime comfort because people need to sleep in air-conditioned environments, and if it's going to stay above 80 degrees the entire night, well, yeah, that's pretty much zero relief, and air conditioning will still have to continue running. Now, I've got some other charts here. So here's one where the feels like was registered as 105 degrees. This is from weather.com. And the main thing about this one is you can also see how the overnight forecast is staying above 80 degrees. In fact, I have another one where it says low 79, and I show the total overnight forecast where, according to the hourly forecast, you can see 80s all across the board, never dips below that, even though it says the low is 79. And, well, if the low is 79, then it's gonna barely dip below the 80 degree threshold. And then, of course, we have the high temperatures for today across the eastern seaboard, which I took from the NOAA page, so this is official NOAA data, and this is what was recorded today. Lots of triple digits that you can see stretching from as far south as the map goes here, all the way up through Boston. So, very hot day, and this heat is expected to continue, because we also have the high temperatures forecasted for tomorrow. And, well, you can barely tell the difference. Obviously, it's going to look different, but it is pretty similar. There's going to be triple-digit heat hitting a lot of the same areas. Some areas might be a little bit lower, but others are probably going to push higher. And, yeah, very extreme heat. Also, might I mention the overnight low temperatures for Thursday here. And you can see in New Jersey, the Delmarva area, and yeah, there's a lot of places where you can see the overnight low doesn't even go below 80 degrees. And hate to say it, but the Boston Metro is one of those areas that is concerningly close to that threshold. And of course, New York staying above 80 all night long too. So yeah, it's going to be a very warm night. And the low temperatures Friday into Saturday, a very similar case. It might get a little bit cooler up here, but down in New Jersey, New York, and the Delmarva Peninsula, very much the same story. Going to be 80s all across, and for the entire 24-hour period. And then, of course, there is, from our local news outlet, the high temperatures that we got across Massachusetts today. Boston clocked in at 101, which is the second highest temperature of this decade, with the highest so far being 105 last year, and it was 102 here, and today it actually hit 100 here. And, yeah, I don't know if I have anything else. I guess the daily forecast map, I can put that up here. Well, it's not a map, it's just a chart. Where you can see it was 99 according to weather.com. And then it was updated to 100 later, so yeah. But you can see the overnight lows as well. Very hot. So overall, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous what we're looking at here. So that is all of the data that I've got for you. I've got some pretty interesting stuff. And this is definitely a historic heat wave. It has been quite the journey getting through today. You know, it got really hot. Had to spray my solar panel down several times just to keep peak performance going. And I have a feeling I'm going to have to do the same thing tomorrow. My air conditioner had to run quite a lot today to keep my room cool. And it's going to have to continue doing so for the entire night tonight, throughout the whole day tomorrow, all tomorrow night, through the whole day Saturday, probably all Saturday night too. Relief isn't really going to start hitting until Monday, it'll start cooling down on Sunday, but it's still going to be pretty warm Sunday, and I think Sunday night into Monday is when the real relief is going to strike. Which, of course, we all just cannot wait for that to happen, but yeah, this is just how heat waves go here. It is 11:51 p.m. and we're about to conclude day 2 of the heat wave. This was certainly an interesting day. Fans are just not doing anything, so yeah. My parents are going to be sleeping in the living room tonight with the ceiling fan blasting on the highest speed for the entire night, because that's apparently the only thing that will provide even the tiniest bit of relief besides this air conditioner here, which, well, of course, I'm going to be chilling. This room is going to be kept perfectly cool thanks to my air conditioner, and the rest of the house is just going to be baking all night. And if the overnight lows are really going to stay 80 degrees or above, given the current house temperature is on average around 86 degrees, which hasn't changed much since like the peak heat of the day, it's probably barely even gonna dip down overnight. Might go down to like 83, maybe 82. And then once we get those daytime highs tomorrow, the temperature's just gonna continue to climb in the house until it gets to a dangerously hot value, which I am very worried about. And using fans just seems to be doing nothing because it's still so warm outside for the entire night. So we've kind of given up on that, and I'm just gonna hope that, you know, this one air-conditioned room is going to be good, but hopefully the rest of the house won't get too hot tomorrow and won't stay too warm overnight. And of course, you know, so many other issues were happening throughout the day too. I mean, for one, and this issue still isn't fully resolved, we have a low voltage issue. Let's turn the brightness of this back up, just so you can see that better. Okay, there we go. It is still only 113 volts on the line. Here's your non-sideways view of that. So yeah, we're still dealing with the low voltage issue, and the voltage did get concerningly low throughout the course of the day because there's obviously very high power grid demand for air conditioning with this historic heat wave. Because, well, it's not just here, it's all up and down the United States East Coast. Triple digits are pretty much everywhere. And yes, this isn't the hottest day it's ever been here. Last year was hotter. That one day, June 24th, as I had mentioned before. Although we came pretty dang close today. But due to the widespread nature of this heat wave, encompassing millions upon millions of people, the demand for cooling is still very high, so that is obviously putting strain on the power grid and affecting the mains voltage coming into the home. And I'm concerned about what may result from that. So I'm definitely going to have to keep an eye on that, because it is something to take note of and be a little bit concerned about. It could mean that grid failure is on the horizon, although hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully we will recover from this, especially as the heat wave finally subsides on Sunday. Maybe things will return to normal. And I also finally got around to better insulating the side panels on my air conditioner. And of course, we got to see everything running from the outside too, yet again. Got to see the pool without the cover on. Hopefully the pool will be ready to use tomorrow. Got to see how high the temperature climbed today, and all of the radiation from the deck, where one of my weather station sensors is placed. That one read a maximum of like 105 today. And of course, all of the solar power I was making today to try and alleviate some of the power grid stress by powering my air conditioner for as long as I could off of solar power only. And I made it through 2 p.m., so that's not too bad. But of course, once the shade catches up, then, you know, I can't make any more power. And tomorrow, just in case the grid does end up failing, I want to be able to keep this room cool, because dangerous heat is dangerous, it can kill. So I'm going to let that charge up first tomorrow, and then when it gets up to a higher percentage, that's when I will move my air conditioner over to solar power. Oh, and yeah, we cannot forget the relative humidity. That is definitely going to be an issue, and that's probably the main reason why it's going to be so warm overnight, because there's so much moisture in the air. Oh, and yeah, the severe weather threat too. Once again, we didn't get any thunderstorms, so nothing to mop up all of the energy that's in the air yet, so it's just going to stay hot and humid until that does end up happening, which I believe is probably going to take place on the 4th of July, unfortunately. But yeah, I think it's time to wrap up today. This has been one of the most painful days ever, you know. It's been very hot, very humid, and not a whole lot you could do besides using an air conditioner to keep cool through this kind of heat, where it's not only as high as like 100 degrees during the day, but stays as warm as 80 degrees throughout the entire night. Fans are not going to do anything in this kind of heat, so you better have an air conditioner or you're going to literally get cooked. That's the moral of the story here. So, yeah, that's going to do it. I'm going to let my air conditioner condition my air all night long, and I'm going to wrap up this part. There was certainly a lot to look at today, and a lot that transpired. Thank you for watching, and I hope that I will see you for tomorrow's part, which will be day 3, Friday. And yes, mark today's date, July 2nd, 2026. One of the hottest days on record. Not the hottest day, because last year happened, but one of the hottest days on record. In any case, I will see you in tomorrow's part for day 3 of the 2026 Mega Heat Wave.